not just for the survivalists. And it doesn't take much to cause that to happen when you're already thin on resources.
Well, Andrew, what's your take on the stuff going on in the Gulf? I mean, do you think they're giving us the straight skinny or what?
Well, absolutely not, man. I don't know what's going on. There's varying opinions on everything. Obviously, I respect AC Griffith greatly in his opinion, but given the number of earthquakes and given the number of natural catastrophes starting to happen everywhere and these oil blowouts occurring in the Gulf, if we throw out the Deepwater Horizon, there's been, I think, 3 other blowouts now. And just like Griff pointed out, there was this 300-foot geyser on land that blew out. And I think, it goes back to a movie that I've seen, but I do believe that the government would rather believe, or have us believe, that is, that they are in control and they are doing this to us if you're willing to look into it and find it. But I think that this is out of their control and something that we cannot explain with modern science is happening to this planet right now. And, and this is based not only on the Gulf, but all over the world. There's these strange migratory patterns popping up in animals. There's fish just popping up dead by the millions. Karachi in Pakistan recently just had miles and miles of shoreline loaded full of dead mollusks. Something's happening out there that we don't understand. And I think that our government, granted, I think BP did, that somebody did that big Gulf spill on purpose. As to whether it's part of an agenda or a distraction, I really don't know, man. But I wish I had positive answers on anything, but I don't. It's just like there's just no truth in anything anymore.
No, you're absolutely right. And it looks like it's just one more thing in this gigantic stew pot of crap. And the other thing that I noticed today, I was reading in the news, was 20 million people homeless in Pakistan because of the floods. I mean, this is crazy. The weather's going off the chart. Griff, what do you attribute that to?
Let me go back and answer or make another comment about water before we get too far away from that.
Sure.
The Pepsi-Cola company, PepsiCo owns Aquafina bottled water. If you're in this part of the country and probably down where you are in North Carolina, Joe, the Aquafina water comes out of South Carolina, and they take it out of the tap. So Aquafina water bought in this part of the country, in Richmond, Virginia, and where you are, Joe, South Carolina tap water, and they run it through reverse osmosis, and they dump some minerals in it, put it in a bottle, and sell it to you. So if South Carolina water becomes tainted for any reason, it's going to go right into the bottled water. Now, on all of the bottled water sold today, you will not find a pH rating. Whether the water is acid or alkaline, you will not know that, and you will not be able to find out if you call the companies. Probably one of the most important things is the pH. If you drink acid bottled water, you will eventually become sick. If it's alkaline, you're better off, but you won't know that because they don't know and they won't tell you. But most of it is right out of the taps. The bottles that say mineral water or from natural springs, I just don't believe it. I've never believed it. They're making a lot of money on water. It's a very profitable item. It's much more expensive than gasoline today, the price of gasoline per gallon.
Sure.
And all of the water has an expiration date on it. It expires, and the water does not last forever in those plastic bottles. So you have a shelf life on that also. It is an extremely complicated thing in a survival mode. Water is not an easy thing to understand or deal with. There are many, many facets to water. But as I have said repeatedly, pH is so important. And there's 2 ways to deal with pH, both the chemical, the buffering way, or the electrical electrolysis way. The electrolysis way is the better way that will produce miraculous good health in people and animals. So everybody should investigate the electrolysis. Little machines out South Korea, Ion Life, they can do wonders for your health. But again, in a survival mode, you have the problem of having to have a pump for the machine and having to come up with a sine wave AC source and all of that, and sustain that with maybe solar cells or batteries. So it gets very complicated. But as far as taking water out of a stream or out of a bucket that's been out in the field or a lake, you're really at risk because of the aerosols. The aerosols land in that water. We know it's barium and aluminum, and morgellon is probably in that mix, and other chemistry that we don't know about. So you can only filter certain things out of the water with the Berkey or any of the other passive filters. You can only do so much. The good way, the absolute way, or something approaching the absolute way, is the distilled water, where you boil it and you take the vapors and you condensate and turn it back into a drinkable liquid. But now, when you do that, you take all of the nutrition out of it, and it's a non-nutrient. Like I think of sugar as a non-nutrient. It doesn't really do anything for you beneficial. Now, distilled water is the same thing. It will wet your mouth and your tongue and quench the thirst, but it doesn't do anything for the body. We depend on water to get so many of our minerals today, especially the cities that are taking the water out of running rivers, running over rocks and sand and outside. It'll pick up a lot of minerals in that water. Every city is different on the chemistry of their water. Some of it's bad, some of it's good. There are a lot of cities pumping water into their population that should not be allowed to be in business to make the people sick, but there's no real check on it. So it's a real complicated thing, as Dr. Prepper had said. Dr. Prepper, I'm respecting your thoughts and words more and more as I listen to you. Your 30-some years really has built a storehouse of good information inside of your mind.
Yeah, my school teachers never thought I was learning anything. But, Griff, the thing is, people don't realize there's some insipid things in virtually every treatment system. Someone mentioned having a tap filter. That's what it does. It filters. It may pick up a few grains of something or other, maybe sand or small grains of dirt or maybe a small bug. But it's not going to purify water. And we have to understand, if you say purify, it has a meaning. If you say filter, it has a different meaning. If you say treat, that has a different. If you say soften, each one of those words means something particular to me, because this is what I do for a living. And as a result, when somebody asks me a question, I respond to it. Otherwise, it's a lecture and nobody wants to hear it. But reverse osmosis is the worst kind of water you can really have, except for one thing. It is good and clean. And generally, it's pretty darn pure. Will it take out every toxin? No. But it will clean the water up and take out all the minerals. And then your body starts leaching the minerals it needs from bones and other organs where they're stored. And people don't seem to realize that reverse osmosis sounds good at the outset, but I will tell you it's not good for the human body.
It's funny you say that, because I know that towards the latter half of my naval career, we kind of transitioned from having a full desalinization plant to going kind of half and half between that and reverse osmosis. But either way, each time they had to add minerals back into that water. Otherwise, we'd have been in deep doo-doo, having to drink just straight water that hasn't, with none of the minerals in it. Because you're right, it will make you sick. It will leach the minerals out from you.
Joe, just like you're saying, if you're not getting a good supply of nutrients, vitamins, minerals, and especially electrolytes, pure, absolutely nothing but H2O will deplete your body of everything. You have to have a little bit of salt. You've got to have your potassium. You've got to have your minerals. You've got to have all of that.
And I actually had experience, Andrew, with that. My wife's got bad kidney issues, and one night she was making a pot of soup, and she asked me to get her some water. So of course I get her some water, and I put I got distilled water to make the soup with. Got her sick as a dog. So. Believe me, folks, it does. It makes a difference. Now, Andrew, hey, what do you think about speaking of water, what do you think about the floods in Pakistan and the crazy weather that we're having? Do you attribute that to any weather modification things, or is it celestial? What's your gut feeling on that?
This is my thought.